How many times do you need to train each muscle for maximum muscle growth? To answer that question, we first need to understand a concept called stimulus to fatigue ratio. We've got on the one hand stimulus applied to the muscle, effectively causing the muscle to grow, and on the other hand we have fatigue. How tired are you getting from each activity and how much time do you need to recover from that stimulus? The more often you train a muscle, the more repetitions you do and the more sets you do, that will increase the stimulus applied to the muscle. But as you gradually increase the stimulus, you will also increase the fatigue. At some point, the fatigue is going to increase faster than the stimulus, making whatever you're doing less effective. Essentially, the negatives, fatigue, are outweighing the positives, stimulus. There's going to be a sweet spot where you have the stimulus and fatigue perfectly balanced. Your muscles are growing, but you're also recovering. Now, studies have shown that training a muscle once a week is great for maintaining muscle mass, but you're not going to get or very little muscle growth. Once you start training a muscle twice a week, the stimulus is being increased and fatigue is very much managed, which is, for a lot of people, where the sweet spot starts to come in. 3 times a week is probably the most stimulating frequency. However, for some people, fatigue starts to creep up just a little bit too much, making it not the best option for them. And once you go above 4 times a week, so 5, 6, or 7, you'll start to see that fatigue is increasing way faster than the stimulus. For many people, this is not an option. So how can we translate this to training splits? I would almost always recommend a 3-day full body split for beginners, for the simple fact that as a beginner, you're probably not taking your sets as close to failure or complete muscle failure like intermediate or more advanced lifters do. So the fatigue will be managed while you get the maximum stimulus possible. If you start to get more advanced, so let's say maybe after a year, maybe 2 years of training, your intensity per set or per session is going to be a lot higher. So your fatigue starts to increase. So you may want to take that stimulus frequency from 3 times a week to 2 times a week. So for example, as an intermediate, you could do an upper body, lower body split 4 times a week. This way you still train each body part twice a week and you're managing your fatigue. Once you get to that even more advanced level, maybe 3 to 5 years of training, and you want or need to train 5 or more times a week, that's where more advanced splits come into play, like a push-pull leg, upper-lower split, or a push-pull leg, rest, repeat, rotation. In each of these splits that I just laid out, you're going to be training each muscle group 2 to 3 times per week, which for 99% of the people is going to be the sweet spot between having that stimulus applied and managing that fatigue. And that is the conclusion of this video. You want to train at a frequency where you can balance your stimulus to fatigue while training each muscle 2 or 3 times per week. And how that works for you, probably just have to test it out. If you train chest on Monday and you're still sore on Wednesday, training it again on Thursday might be a better idea. Another metric to look at is your training performance. So if you're able to perform less weight or less repetitions on your Wednesday session compared to your Monday session for the same exercise, you might not be recovered and you may need an extra rest day. So play around with when are you doing each exercise in a week, test it out, do it Wednesday one week, Thursday the other week, and see how you respond based on muscle soreness, which is not necessarily a proxy for muscle growth. For most people, will give a little bit of an idea of recovery and training performance. So can you do the same or more reps and weight than the previous session? Now, if you have any questions on it, drop them in the comments. I'll respond to every single one of them, and I'll see you next time.